Welcome to our fourth session of our series on mindfulness practice through Mindful.USC.edu. This session is devoted to mindfulness of thoughts. Have you ever visited the zoo and stood in front of the monkey cage? It's just amazing to watch the monkeys swinging and leaping and making noise and pummeling each other. So much is going on in that cage. It's breathtaking to watch it. And that's pretty much what it's like to be mindful of our thoughts. The Hindus call it the monkey mind, the wild cacophony, the chaotic jungle of stuff going on inside of us all the time. It can be jarring, disturbing, frightening, but also pretty entertaining to take a look inside of our monkey minds. Some forms of meditation are about letting go of thoughts, getting past them. Mindfulness practice is a little different that way. We're not trying to get rid of our thoughts or squelch them or make them go away. We're just trying to watch them, just like we would standing in front of the monkey cage in the zoo. Mindfulness practice is a lot like fly fishing for trout. You take the line, fling it out there with your rod, you wait patiently as the line floats on the water. You watch the river flow, then you notice a fish, and you hook it, and you reel it out of the water. You hold it in your hands, you admire this fish for a while, and then you unhook it and toss it back into the flowing water. Then you throw out the line and do it all over again. You watch the flow of your experience, a thought shimmers, you attend to it with loving attention and admiration, no matter how fishy it might be. And then when the time feels right, you let it go back into the flow of experience, and you're ready to attend to another thought that flows into your awareness. Some thoughts float around us and spin around us, which are problems that we are eager to solve. This can pose a challenge in mindfulness practice as we lose our attention to the problem because we become totally absorbed in problem solving, which often leads to the experience of getting stuck. I cherish an old, wise book by a mathematician named George Polya, who wrote it years ago, 1940s, called How to Solve It. And he wrote this as a text to advise teachers of mathematics in better ways of teaching. But it generalizes as wisdom about problem solving in general. It's a contemplative approach to the study of mathematics. In his book, he keeps repeating this phrase, look at the unknown. This concentration on the problem itself rather than on problem solving has the paradoxical effect of opening us up to a fresh awareness of the peripheral realm around the problem, in which solutions might be found. So when you get stuck in your thoughts, when you get stuck in problem solving, go back to Polya's mantra and look at the unknown. Contemplate the unknown. Contemplate the problem with loving, patient attention, while trusting that the solution will emerge in its own time. In mindfulness practice, wanting equals having. To pay mindful attention to our desire for progress in mindfulness is to have a taste of that progress, if only for a fleeting moment. Savor this desire for this progress as its own experience in the moment. Let it be a seed that you can trust to grow in its own time and on its own terms. Mindfulness practice trains us to trust that our awareness of a problem or a need for growth will activate our inner creativity and our capacity for change. We don't need to solve problems, fix things in the moment as we practice. We learn to trust that solutions will bubble up from within when the time is right. So let's do a practice of focus on our thoughts. And this one's a little different than ones we've done before. Get in a position where you'll be comfortable but alert, Set your alarm for 15 minutes, and when the bell rings, we'll begin, and then you can pause this video. Begin by listening very intently to the sound of the bell. Give it as much of your attention as you possibly can. Let the sound of it ring on, if not in your ears, then in your imagination. Keep focused on the sound for 5 minutes or so, then release your focus. Stop focusing on the sound of the bell. Open yourself to whatever thought or experience then arises and focus on it. After 5 minutes of focus on this new secondary experience, let go of that focus and allow some other thought or experience to arise and focus on it until our time has passed. What was that like? Your experience is your own. All sorts of thoughts might bubble up after the release of your focus on the bell. But many people, including myself, experience a sense of open awareness after releasing that intense focus. A sense of the presence of everything at once, a sense of awareness itself. This practice of focus and release is sort of like erasing a chalkboard, making room for a very wide range of possible next experiences to arise. It's also a great way to encourage creativity, a great way to erase the chalkboard and come up with entirely new ways of solving problems. You can focus your eyes on one object, any object, for a period of several minutes, and then release your focus. Enter that open awareness until something else bubbles up. Focus on that. Then after several minutes, release your focus again. A great discipline for building up the muscle of attention. In mindfulness practice, all sorts of ideas and plans and schemes are likely to arise as you pay attention to your thoughts. You'll feel that FOMO we talked about before, that fear of missing out, if you don't act on these ideas right away. That is so normal and natural. Don't let these experiences go to waste. Examine your ideas and your plans and your schemes carefully. What are they like? Trust your mind to remember what is important and what you can act on later. When I told my daughter as a teenager to remember something, she would always answer by saying, "Okay, Dad, I'll think that down." I always admired how she trusted her mind to remember what was important. When ideas and schemes bubble up in mindfulness practice, tell yourself that you'll think them down. Trust your mind and observe these experiences of schemes and urges. Surf them out. Let them sink in like a spent wave sinking into the sand at the beach. Trust that they'll bubble up if and when the time is right to act upon them. Mindfulness gives us a taste of eternity. Thoughts of the past, thoughts of the future, as we pay attention to them, they are brought into present awareness. And if our attention is keen enough, time seems to fall away. My life is longer because I practice mindfulness. Not longer in hours, days, or years, but longer in terms of my subjective experience. Because being focused on the present moment, bringing my thoughts to the here and now, changes my relationship to time itself. As I focus on the present moment, savoring my thoughts, time seems to slow and stretch. A major preoccupation of our thoughts consists of narratives. As you fall asleep, have you noticed this? Sometimes you'll have a sudden body jerk and your legs will kick. Have you ever had a dream that explained that kick or that jerk? You'll dream that you fell off of a sidewalk, and then your leg jerked as a result. Amazing that such dreams are generated by your mind in the split second that the nervous system takes to generate that jerk. That is your brain doing what it does best, coming up with stories to make sense of your experience. And it's a good thing, because we're all about stories. But very often we get trapped in a narrative, thinking it's the only way to make sense of what is going on. Meanwhile, there are untold thousands of ways to string together the same factual events into very different narratives, each of which would have different effects on our emotions and our behaviors. Integral to mindfulness is the attentive examination of these narratives. If you observe your thoughts congealing into a story that accounts for your experiences, then you'll realize that this particular narrative is but one of endless ways that you can make sense of what's up. Stepping back, observing, appreciatively inquiring about your narratives will change your relationship to them. You'll be liberated from the chains of stories that don't work for you, that make you a victim of circumstance rather than an agent of positive action. Mindfulness practice can set you up to choose more positive, useful, and elegant stories to tell yourself about your experiences. One form of narrative thought pattern is called suffering. Now, suffering is not the same thing as pain. Suffering equals pain times resistance. Suffering is the consequence of stories that we make up to make sense or nonsense of our pain, narratives of judgment and rejection of the pain, stories that paint us as victims. But these strategies just amplify the dis-ease of the pain, makes the pain worse, adds this other component of suffering to it. Pain can't be eliminated always. It's part of life. But very often suffering can be dramatically alleviated through our mindfulness of the resistance stories that we create around the pain. Once again, mindfulness does not solve our problems, but it does change our relationship to them, very often in ways that make life richer and more pleasant. So your assignment this time is to focus for 20 minutes a day on your thoughts. What are the colors, textures, tones, and qualities of your thoughts? Which ones are sticky? Which ones stay with you for a while? Which ones pass away quickly? What forms do they take? Are they voices, images? What emotions are associated with these thoughts? And where do these emotions manifest in bodily sensations? Try that focus and release method a few times this week as well. What bubbles up for you after you intently focus on one thing? Till then, be well.